Alright, hello people of the internet. This is going to be a short, hopefully short video on VMware's ESXi virtualization platform. It's a hypervisor that you install. It's actually like an operating system essentially that you install onto a set of hardware, and from there you are then capable of remoting into it with their vSphere client and installing virtual operating systems on top of that. And we'll get to that here in a minute, but I want to do this quick video ahead of time for some upcoming videos that relate to running some services and programs on operating systems, and we'll be virtualizing those. So I want to make sure that everyone understood the ESXi server, what it's capable of, and how to get it set up for your lab environment. First thing you want to do is Google and find the VMware download page. You can use something in your query like VMware ESXi download or ESXi free download, something like that. It is free from VMware. They do provide you a license for it. There is limited capabilities of what you can do with it, but for a lab environment, typically it gets the job done. Once you install the operating system, during install, I believe it either has you set the IP information or it pulls its initial IP through DHCP, and then you can change it later. No. Actually, you know what? After it installs, sorry, I'm thinking it's been a while since I've installed the one I have running because I've got some operating systems on it, so I didn't want to redo it. Once you get it installed, you're able to use a mouse and keyboard to get into some settings and configuration. The actual install screen, I just brought it up here. I just Googled and found this because I'd have to take a picture of mine. It's off on another server. But the screen looks like this, and then you can hit F2, you can see down here, to customize the system. From in there, you can set statically what IP address you want, and obviously you want this server to be static so that you can remote into it every time without having to worry about what IP address it pulled if anything happens to your DHCP. So this is the splash screen, and once you get an IP address set to it, you just go to the IP address. For example, this is mine internally here, and you can download the vSphere client. It just gives you the executable right there to install it. So that's too easy to get that going. When you install that client, you're going to see a program like this. First, you're going to be prompted to log in. I believe the default login is root and no password. That's root as in ROOT, like the root Linux account. Because ESXi is Linux derived. I don't know exactly what flavor of Linux it's a spinoff from, or if it's actually. So no, never mind. That's call manager. Okay. Anyway, let's get back on track here. So this program, once you're into it, you can see your inventory. This is your inventory of all of your virtual machines. None of these are running right now. You can control them from this toolbar up here. So if I wanted to start one of my servers, I could just hit the start button, and you have a kind of a logging down here that tells you the latest actions that were taken on your server. So if you have multiple users logging in, I don't know if you can do that with the ESXi, since it's kind of a freeware solution by VMware. But anyway, in an enterprise environment, you can see who's made what changes to what VMs, who created what, who changed hardware allocation, etc. For each VM, you can go to resource allocation and or summary. Summary is also going to give you a pretty good overview, and you can see what's kind of set for it. So this one has 4 gigs of RAM. It's got 1 CPU. You can see what guest OS is set for. So this is Windows Server 2012, 64-bit. You can see information on my internet service provider, go figure, and various other things. Hard drive data store size, network, VMware network information. Because ESXi has the capability of doing, I believe, I'm not sure in ESXi, but anyway, in the full-blown version, you can do 802.1q tagging, which is VLAN tagging. So you can separate your servers into different, or your virtual appliances into different VLANs, and then your network devices would handle it from there. So when you get one of them started up, just to kind of show you ones that are already up and running, this icon here launches a virtual machine console. Now, if this thing's configured, at this point I could remote into it from my workstation because it is an operating system and it is running, assuming everything's set up correctly. By pushing that window right there, it's going to pop up this this little live, not even live preview. This is essentially the operating system. It's like you're sitting at it with a KVM. So from here, once you click in, you're in the operating system. So I just clicked into it. Your mouse can't leave the window. The way to get it out of there is Control-Alt gives you your mouse back from the VM, which I think you can change that to whatever you want. So Control-Delete to sign in. If you Control-Delete, it's going to Control-Delete your whole operating system. So what you need to do is Control-Insert. That is the VMware equivalent of a Control-Delete. All right, so I skipped the login process there, but this is, you can see that this is basically a live operating system. Now on my screen, I don't have my resolution large enough. I could probably adjust the actual VM's resolution in here, but you can see we're now into Windows Server 2012, and this is basically how you can locally take care of operating systems. As I said before, you can still also remote into this thing now that it's running, as long as you have the IP settings set. Some other capabilities, you can restart the guest. They call them guests. That's basically your virtual appliance. You can power it off, reset it. Snapshots are their way of taking backups, sort of. There's a whole process and fundamental behind how snapshots work. So if you want to look into that more on the internet, there's kind of a best practice for how to use those. You don't want to just keep making a new snapshot every time you do something with the operating system. You can edit settings, you can add permissions. That's pretty much all you need to do with an operating system. You can also, if you need to connect a CD drive, or God forbid a floppy drive, I don't know why you would need to do that anymore. You can click this little icon here, click CD drive, and you can pull an ISO image from your local machine, or you can connect it to the host device, or you can connect it to an ISO on the data store. So that's kind of a way of mounting different ISOs, or mounting it to the host device so you can install something from a CD or move files back and forth, etc. That's pretty much it. We're not going to go into Windows Server 2012 in this video, so I'm going to get out of that. Let's just close that. Oh, let me get my mouse back. Give me my mouse. We'll close that window. Let's go ahead and start a new one. Let's create a new virtual machine. Let's not create a new virtual machine. Just kidding. Okay, I guess you cannot be clicked on a virtual machine. You have to be clicked on the ESXi server itself. So if we go and create a new virtual machine, it's going to ask us a couple of setup questions for when we're building a new one. I'm going to call this DSL. What we're installing here is called Damn Small Linux. It's a small Linux kernel, minimum overhead, and there's not too much to it. It's kind of a bare bones Linux distro. It's designed for like less resource intense machines. Something small, maybe an older workstation or whatever. Moving on, pick your data store, that'll work, and we're gonna go Linux. You can see that ESXi has, if I can get in, okay, I'm not sure if this is freaking out because of how my window is positioned, or, yep, okay, so it was too far down and the list is too big, but that brings up my point that there's just so many different presets for these different operating systems, so you want to make sure you know what you're installing. They're not going to have a preset for damn small Linux, though. They have a lot of the big ones, Ubuntu, or Ubuntu, however you pronounce it, particularly Red Hat, SUSE, CentOS, whatever. We're going to go with Ubuntu, or I'm sorry, other Linux 32-bit. I believe this is 32-bit. That's probably one of the most important parts, is 32 versus 64. You got to know what you have. And honestly, I didn't pay attention just a minute ago when I downloaded DSL, so we're going to wing it and go 32-bit, and we'll just see how it works out for us. VM network, that's fine. I don't have any crazy VLAN configurations just yet because my lab network is not the most, or rather not the best hardware as far as switches and routers and everything just yet. 16 gigabyte virtual disk, that should be plenty. I mean, it's a small operating system. We're going to finish that. Okay, so that's it. Now you have DSL. Now there's no operating system assigned to it because you have to, we got to power it on first. You have to install it, essentially. This is kind of like having a bare bones PC that has no OS. Now, it does have Pixie boot capability, so that's kind of a neat feature if you're using Pixie to test kind of, virtualized client machines that you would be using in the real environment without having to mess around with the actual workstation. I'm going to connect it to an ISO. and then we're going to restart this. If I exit Pixie, it should, yep, not find an operating system. Hit enter a couple times, it'll restart. So there we go. We're going to just boot into DSL. See if I can move the screen up for you. And I'm going to pause for now until we get done installing this, because it's going to take a minute. You know what? Actually, no, I'm not. That's essentially all you need to really see is just how to mount that ISO and get the operating system installing. This is a whole different aspect. It's not technically ESXi once we start getting into installing the operating system. So, go figure. It's a live CD. I forgot. So there we are. Done. Boom. Alright, that pretty much covers all the topics that I'm going to get into as far as what we need to know for the home lab use of vSphere and ESXi. So, get that downloaded, installed, start downloading some free Linux ISOs, or if you have another copy of Windows floating around with a CD key for it, or if you have a TechNet subscription, Microsoft TechNet, which is how you'll see I have a lot of things like Windows Server 2012. I am not paying for that licensing because they are expensive, but with the TechNet subscription, which is going away soon, I don't think you can even make one anymore, but Microsoft gives you downloads and keys for different various operating systems and software for you to test in a lab environment. So that's it. Get ESX or some sort of equivalent hypervisor virtualization platform running and get some operating systems installed. So thank you for watching.